Jumbo, fellow adventurers, happy Friday. Here we go into the weekend. Great to have you here. Hope you're doing super. I got another great question posted just yesterday, so thank you. If you have a question for me, it'll be my next talking point if you post it below in Facebook or on Instagram. All right, so the question today, on the heels of earlier talks this week about anger and challenging relationships, is again pertaining to forgiveness. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. So if this is a hot button for you, please look at some of the headings of spiritual tune-ups, which is what this is, my daily event, in the past 2 weeks, and you'll get a lot of information. But the question posed was, do you have any tools to help with forgiveness? Yeah, I've got some ideas for you, and I have to preface them by sharing what I always share, my go-to when it comes to the issue of forgiveness. And that is really big picture, kind of abrasive, very annoying, but you don't even have to go there unless you first blame. You blamed somebody. Don't blame. Okay, that's the issue. If you blame, now you need to forgive. Now, that doesn't mean they weren't a jerk. That doesn't mean they didn't behave improperly or in less than ideal ways. That doesn't mean you have to love them in spite of it. Okay? But don't blame, and you don't have to forgive. Okay? Now, I've talked about that at length in the last couple of weeks. So look at that, and I couldn't speak about forgiveness without touching on that first. Because too often we feel in our limited worldviews that, people can be jerks, and we are right to blame them, and now we have to deal with forgiveness. It's like wrong path. Okay, but still you blame them. And you're angry, and you're resentful, and they are threatening the very livelihood and the joy of your being because they are thundering around in your life, telling you lies, completely undependable. How can you build a home or joy when somebody's behaving like that? Not easy, but here are some tools for forgiveness. First, understand it's not you versus them. And very often what happens when somebody behaves in undesirable ways, and that happens all the time, we feel so threatened. It's like either that's my fault or that's their fault. And because they told the lie, clearly it's their fault. I'm angry at them. They're robbing me of opportunities. And so now they've said they're sorry, and I'm supposed to move into forgiveness. Do you see how it was you versus them? You had all the authority and the wherewithal to point the finger at them, and then now you're stuck with having to forgive them. I've got a almost silly hypothetical for you right now, and I hope this conveys what I want to share. And at first it is extremely naive. So hang in there, okay? And then let me clarify it. So let's say you're cruising down Love Avenue with a significant other, and they one day tell you that they're not going to eat apples ever again. And you're like, oh, that's odd, but oh yeah, okay, I'm on board. You don't want to eat apples? I'm not going to tempt you. Nothing to do with Adam and Eve. They're not going to eat apples anymore. And they look at you in the eye and they say, I mean it. I mean it from the depths of my soul. I'm not going to eat another apple the rest of my life. And you're like, all right, okay, I believe you, man. I totally believe you. 4 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days later, you wake up and you go to the kitchen and there's this apple core on the countertop. They failed. They lied. What do? You don't give a dang, do you? You're like, well, they broke their apple vow. What does that do to your life? Nothing. It's nothing. It's just like weird. Okay, I know that's weird. Hang in there. So now, next chapter, they look you in the eye and they tell you that there's no more lies, that there's no more cheating, that there will be no more affairs. And they mean it from the depths of their soul. No more lies, no more cheating, no more affairs. 4 months, 3 weeks, and 1 day later, you find out the horrible news that they have cheated. Okay. Now, when it came to eating an apple, it was really clear to see that it was no skin off your nose. And you're like, well, you've got this weird thing with apples and you're trying to balance your act. It's the same thing. You've got this weird thing with integrity, with trying to prove your manhood or womanhood, with trying to show yourself that you still have power and options. So you're out there philandering and cheating and lying, and you don't even want to do that, this person you're involved with, but they do it. This is entirely a reflection of them. It has nothing to do with your joy, it has nothing to do with your happiness. Hold on. I know what you're thinking. Okay, so you're in a relationship with them and they've committed to you and they want to live happily ever after with you and you want to live happily ever after with them, but now they're philandering and they're lying and they're having an affair. I'm not saying it's okay that they did that. It's not even okay that they had the apple after they lied to you about it. But look, they're going through their own lessons. What remains for you to do is to decide, do you want to deal with this? Is this going to create a foundation for the relationship you want or not? And if not, you part ways. You lovingly say, I see you have issues. This is not going to be conducive to my joy and happiness. And my inner intuition and my logic are telling me that, peace out, love you forever, but not in my house. That's not blame. That's not feeling vulnerable and threatened. That's not jumping to conclusions that need not be jumped to, and thereby you're not in a place where you have to forgive them. You're looking at forgiveness as a roadmap for them to behave better. And the reason you want them to behave better is because you're hinging your happiness on their decisions. You're hinging your own identity on their choices. It's like, don't do that. You can't do that in a great relationship, and you don't want to do that in a challenging relationship. And it's not about blame or good or bad. We're all here learning lessons. Okay, so that was kind of a strange analogy. I was trying to make a point there. I don't know if I made it. But it's not about you versus them. And don't link, I guess point 2, don't link your identity to their decisions. You can decide not to be part of them, part of their life. But if you feel like you need to make this work, the only way is if you forgive them. But they still may cheat on you. And so you've carried your lot and your desire for happiness and made it attached to their behavior. And when they go wrong, instead of saying adios amigo, you're like, I need you to apologize, and then I'm going to forgive you. And it's not easy because you're a lying, two-faced son of a gun. And no wonder you have trouble forgiving. You've got everything in your life riding on the line because you think you don't have options, because you think it's a reflection of you, because you think the alternative is to blame yourself. Don't go there. Don't make it into something that it is absolutely not. Okay, so a couple of other thoughts that were kind of built into that. Don't attach your happiness to their behavior. Your happiness needs to be predicated on your behavior, your power, your recognition of the beauty in the world. And if you find a fellow traveler who you think shares those things with you, enjoy the ride. If they all of a sudden conk out and start lying, it's like, wow, you're not who I thought you were. This is not the house I want to build. I love you forever, and goodbye. And it's not your fault versus my fault versus now I got to ask you to apologize. And now, and the last point, is number 4. Stop trying to make other people who they are not. Now, I know you want to, and I know you want them to be a certain way, but they are what they are, and they're going through their lessons, and they're being baptized through fear and anger and folly. Okay, this is what they need to go through. Don't try to make them into something they are not, because you will not succeed. So, the only question is, can I roll with this behavior? Because if it showed up before, it might show up again. Am I willing to take that chance, or do I want a more solid foundation? And it's not about blame or forgiveness or apologies. It's about, is this going to be the rock you want to build your life on? And if not, it's so cool. It's okay. There's so many great people out there. I've been there. I've gone through all of this. Happy to say that for now, the ground is stable under my feet, and I'm very much in love with my partner, and I think vice versa. I wish you that happiness. I wish you happily ever after. Don't try to make people into something they aren't. Don't associate their behavior with who you are. Don't think that if it's not their fault that it must be your fault. It's nobody's fault. You're all doing your best. You're all learning. You have infinite possibilities. You don't have to make it work with somebody. Let them go if it's more work and doesn't promise what it is that you most want out of the relationship. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. Happy forever and ever. Thanks for letting me do this. Thanks for your comments below, the interactions. Hello, Maria. Hello, Anai in the house. Hello, Alexandra. Hey, Tina. Julie's in the house. Marge, Maria, Johan, Diana. A lot of familiar names. I appreciate you so much. Have a great one, and we'll see you on Monday.